Hey everybody, before we get started on our video, I just want to ask something. For those of you that have your own project cars that are doing work, are you obsessive about cleaning? And by that I mean every time I take a part off, every bolt that comes off, every bracket that comes off, I want to clean it and I want to paint it, and I do it. And it's like anal retentive obsession, OCD, I don't know what you call it, but I have to do it. I just want to know if I'm the only one that does that, or if all of y'all are doing that have these project cars. I can't just take something off and put it back on again. I want to make sure it's better going back on than when it came off. So I just want to know if I'm the only one. Okay everybody, welcome back to the next video on our 67 Mustang project here. So in the last video, I believe we had taken all the stuff out from under the dash, and we're getting in and looking at the cowls, or the cowl I should say, and trying to get a gauge on what kind of condition it was, because the passenger side floorboard, which I thought was in pretty good shape, actually turns out to not be in that good a shape. So it had to get rust from somewhere, and so a lot of people had commented that it was probably coming through the cowl. So we got in there and took a look, and sure enough, it does appear that at least on the passenger side for sure, that there was some leak coming through there, water coming in from rain and whatnot, that caused that floorboard on the passenger side to get rusted out more than we anticipated. So what I'm going to do, I've already been looking at it and shot some videos that I'll insert here to kind of show you the condition. It's not a big leak. It's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be once I dug into it. On the passenger side, there's really just I say small, kind of an elongated rust hole that you'll see in the video. I'll point that out here to you. Driver's side seems to be in much better condition. I didn't notice any real leak coming down the A-pillar or anything of that nature that seemed to be coming from the cowl itself, but it does have some rust, obviously, in there, in things that we want to address. Now, having said that, as I mentioned, I am on somewhat of a tighter budget. I don't have the skills to pull the whole cowl out. I don't have the money to go pay somebody to yank the whole cowl out and replace it. They do have replacement cowls there, and I don't really have the skills or the equipment right now to cut out and put in new sheet metal. So I found an alternative to that that I'll show you once we kind of look at what the condition is of the cowl and what we've got to address. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cowl and see what I found, and then we'll jump over and I will show you the solution I have to fix these things. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so the solution I got is from California Pony Cars. This actually I bought from National Parts Depot is where I got it from. CJ Pony Parts carries it. I'm sure plenty of other places carry it. Just National Parts Depot is the one that had it in stock. And this is what they call a cowl vent repair kit. And so what it includes, so I'll go ahead and open it up here, are these collars. Some adhesive and some instructions. Okay. So what this does, and these collars are plastic, so one, they're not going to rust again, which is nice. These slide up into the cowl, into that hole where you've seen that has the rust through, You know, this is the passenger side, that's the driver's side. So this slides up in there, and you would basically glue it and seal it up using this JB Weld RTV that's included with the kit. So it's a pretty straightforward install. You go in there, you clean up around the cowl, take care of any rust or whatnot that you can, and then you basically just put a bunch of sealer around here and stick it up in the hole, and then this collar fills in the metal collar that's already in there. That's where the rust tissue typically is, and then seals it up so no more water can get in. So this works well in a situation like mine where you've got just that little bit of rust. The whole cowl hasn't rusted through. And as you saw earlier in the video, the cowl itself is in pretty good shape. There's no rust through the rain body. The only rust is really right there around where this collar is, where the air comes into the car. So I think this is going to be a good option for me because I don't have to weld these. These just kind of basically glue in place, and silicone seals it so no more water gets in. Now, as you saw again in the video, I did prep the surface. I've done what I can to take care of the rust, because if you don't clean up the rust or stop it, it's going to keep spreading. So you want to make sure you take care of that. Now, what I've been using is a combination of things. Let's see if I can get it. So one of the things I've been using is this VHT rust converter. Jeff Ford over at Auto Resto Mod actually was the one that kind of turned me on to this, recommended it, and it seems to work pretty well. I use this actually on the underside of the car, where I replaced the fuel tank and did the suspension work under there and the exhaust work. So all up under the body of the car, back there where there was some rust, surface rust and whatnot on the frame rails, I cleaned it up best I could, and I sprayed this on it. And what it does is interact with the rust of the chemical reaction that basically turns the rust into inert material, so it's no longer eating up the metal of your car. So I use this as well as some other stuff that I got from Ace Hardware. See if I can see it from here, called OSPHO, OSPHO, which is a liquid that you can brush on to areas. So I use that as well. In some areas it was just easier to brush it in. I couldn't get the spray can up in there, so I used it. It does the same thing as the VHT rust converter product. It's just a brushable thing. So this is what I'm going to use to fix this. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more cleanup and stuff on the inside. You may have noticed I went ahead and primed the whole underneath the dash area. You probably also noticed I got some primer on the outside black metal parts of the dash. I'm going to clean that stuff up. I'm actually going to repaint the whole dash as well. While I've got it all apart, I might as well go ahead and put another coat of paint, pretty it up some. That's what I'm thinking anyway. As I said, I can't help it. I got to clean it. I got to make it look better. So that's what I'm going to try to do here. So one thing I will say about this kit, these instructions, they look like photocopies of photocopies of photocopies. So the instructions are not the best in the world, but really it's pretty straightforward. You yank everything out from the dash that you need to get the cowl. So on the passenger side, you pull the heater box out, just like we've already done. You get that out of the way. That'll get you to the cowl vent on the passenger side. On the driver's side, really all you got to do is get that vent out that I took out earlier in the last video towards the end, that one black plastic piece, and then the driver's side one here. And you know it's the driver's side because of the holes. These are the holes where the vent bolts to. The bolts for the vent will come through these. This actually goes in the car like this. The bolts protrude down, and then the other vent that we took out goes underneath it. So this kit here works for the, let's see, early Mustang, so 64.5, 65, all the way up to 68. This kit will work. I think it's for without air conditioning on the 68, 67, 68 stuff. But you know, like I said, these instructions, not the best in the world, but it's not hard. It's not hard to figure this stuff out. So we'll see how it goes, if it's as easy to install as I think it is. And y'all will see it, I guess. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna go back into doing some little bit more cleanup, paint, some touch-up primer and all that stuff before I get to installing this. Okay, so let's get at it. Okay, everybody, so we're gonna go ahead and start the install of our collar on our passenger side. So I've gone ahead and I've cleaned up the surface. Because I primed the inside, I'd used mineral spirits to kind of clean that up. Then on this piece, I used a little bit of acetone to just clear everything up, get it ready to accept the adhesive. So said the kit comes with this JB Weld all-purpose RTV adhesive and sealer. So we're just gonna run a very generous bead all around this collar and into the corner here. I'm gonna try using the little provided nozzle to start with. If don't think that's going to work well, then I'll take it off and use my fingers. But basically I'm just going to squirt some here in to this lip right in here. And they give you the whole tube to use for both sides, so you don't have to be stingy with it. I know usually when you're using RTV, a little goes a long way, and that may also be the case here, but in this case I'm going to use the adage that a little bit is good, a lot has got to be better, which may or may not be the case, but it's what I'm going to do. Got it, gotta go all the way around this ring once, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply more out further. So I got a whole tube here, might as well use it, right? I'd rather have too much that I have to clean up later than get it in there and then not seal properly and then get it cut it out and do all that kind of stuff. So. If anybody else has ever used one of these kits, leave some comments what you think. I hope I'm making the right choice on doing this. The price was right. The kit's only ranges anywhere from like 25 bucks to 30 bucks from what I saw on the internet from various places. Like I said, National Parts Depot, CJ Pony Parts. I'm not even sure if this was on Rock Auto or not. And of course you can get it directly from the California Pony Cars. Yeah, California Pony Cars. So as well. So I'm sure you can find it on eBay and Amazon and all of those things as well. So I'm probably using way more of this stuff than I really need to, but I'd rather be a little overkill on this, I think. So let's go ahead and get it stuck in. I get in and not mess up the camera I've got in the car. There we go, we're coming in up under the dash. And it just fits. I'm sure my head is blocking what I'm doing. I'll see better. Just shove it up in this hole. Push it in. Here it's a pretty tight fit to start with. So it should, if you've got enough sealer on there, seal up pretty good in there. And the collar is, amazingly, the same height as the metal one that was in there. Now, we leave that in there to cure in place for however many hours the tube says. I can't read it, it's all squished up. And I'll show you. Oops, sorry about that. Okay guys, and you can see we got the driver's side in there. It went in pretty easy. One thing I should point out, you actually, because this is for multiple years, the 64.5 up to 68, the hole pattern on there has an extra hole that, on the 67 anyway, pardon me, doesn't line up with anything. So keep that in mind. I think you can see it right there. So I had some silicone leak through on that, which is fine. Now, according to the instructions on the ATV that was with this, you're supposed to let it cure for an hour, tighten it up, and then let it sit for another 24 hours to fully cure. Now, that assumes, I'm sure that you're using this on a pressurized system like your valve cover gasket or your oil pan gasket or something like that. This is not under pressure, so there's nothing to tighten. As a matter of fact, the passenger side has no nuts or bolts to tighten anyway, so that's, you don't have to worry about that. So anyway, that's in there. Wanted to show it to you, and there we go. Okay, so we got the Cowl repair kit in, so hopefully that'll take care of the leak problem. Some of y'all may be thinking, Trip, I thought you said your next projects were to rewire the car and to fix the floor pans. And that's true, that is what I'm doing. So why am I messing with the cowl? Well, twofold. If I don't fix the cowl and replace the floor pans, then I'm still gonna have leaks and it's gonna rust out the new floor pan. So all that work that I will end up be doing on the floor pans is wasted effort. Not to mention the additional rust that will occur in the A-pillars and those kind of things on the car that will further deteriorate it. So we need to take care of that. Second is a lot of the wiring runs under the dash, runs around these vents. So I don't want water coming in and running over electrical connections and things like that. Water and electricity don't mix, or you could say they mix too well. So I don't want to have shorts or anything like that. So I need to take care of that as well as part of rewiring the car. So that's kind of why I'm doing all this. All of this stuff is interconnected. And I just found, and I'm sure anybody that's done a project car can appreciate this, the more you dig into something, the more stuff you find. On this car, we dug into the floor pans a little bit. I'm actually going to be working on another video talking more about the floor pans and what I'm finding as I'm cleaning them up and getting underneath things and whatnot. But you find more stuff that has to happen. And this is a good case of that. where we got in, found some damage, had to find the source of the damage and find a way to fix it. So hopefully others that are working on your own projects will find this video somewhat helpful. I said this seemed like a good, easy solution. It may not be the best solution, and I'm sure any of y'all that are more mechanically inclined, that have greater skills than I do, are probably cringing and saying, oh my God, you should have just replaced the sheet metal. You should have just replaced it, and you're probably right. But again, that's well outside my skill set. I'm not trying to make this a show car. I'm not trying to make this anything fancy. I'm just trying to make it a fun car to drive with my family on the weekends. And hopefully this will get it done and get it, hold it for another 20, 30 years so that my family can continue to enjoy it. And honestly, I hate to say it this way, but if it doesn't hold for longer than that, then maybe it'll be somebody else's problem. So, I know that's bad, but anyway. So there it is. Again, I hope you've enjoyed the video. You found it useful. Hopefully this kit works out well. So with that, y'all have a great one. Please, if you do like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have questions, comments, if you see something I did completely wrong or something I did right, please, tell me. As I've said before, I'm a novice at this. I'm a computer guy, not a mechanical guy. So, any help, any ideas would be appreciated. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the little notification bell so you'll know whenever we post new videos. I am, going to be working on the floor pans. It's going to require getting a welder, which I don't have. If we ever get that stimulus check that everybody's talking about, maybe I can get it then. I have already put together the price list for what I need to do under the car. So once I get the wiring done, which I'll be doing here hopefully soon, then I got to put back the heater box and all that. I'm not putting that in because, again, all the wiring that runs under the dash, it's easier to get to without all that stuff in there. So again, with that, y'all have a great one, and we'll see you in the next video.